Yeah, well, but I liked you right away
Did he tell you that I had said that you should...
That we should make out?
Well, no, it was after that. I just looked at the show and I said,
No.
She is really, really good.
Warren Beatty was born on March 30th, 1937, in Richmond, Virginia, but the man he became could not be explained by a simple date and place. His childhood was quiet, strict, and full of rules. His mother, Kathleen, loved theater and encouraged her children to be creative. His father, Ira, was a serious teacher who believed in hard work and discipline. Together, they created a home where learning mattered, where books mattered, and where emotions were often kept inside. This was the first shape of Warren Beatty, the observer. Even as a boy, he did not talk too much. He watched. He studied people the way some kids studied baseball cards. He noticed tiny things, how people moved, how they reacted, how they hid their true feelings. These early habits built the inner world that would later turn him into one of the most complex figures in Hollywood history. His sister, Shirley MacLaine, was older and already chasing success. She left home early to dance on Broadway, and her rise created a path for Warren to follow. But he did not follow it blindly. Even in his teenage years, he wanted to control his own choices. In high school, he surprised everyone. The quiet boy became a football star, a top student, and even class president. He could have taken a safe future. 10 full football scholarships came to him, but he turned them all down. He wanted something else. He wanted something bigger. After a short time at Northwestern University, he realized college did not feel right. The world he wanted seemed far away from classrooms and campus buildings, so he left for New York City, carrying almost nothing but determination. There, he faced a very different life. He washed dishes. He worked construction in dangerous underground tunnels as a sandhog. He played piano in bars for little pay. But at the same time, he studied under Stella Adler, one of the greatest acting teachers of the 20th century. She pushed him hard. She taught him that acting meant truth, and truth meant pain. And pain meant digging into yourself until you found the real person hidden beneath the mask. These ideas shaped him forever. By the age of 22, Beatty landed roles on television and finally in films. His talent was obvious, but so was his intensity. Directors admired him and feared him. He asked for multiple takes. He demanded script changes. He pushed others to match his effort. This strong creative energy helped him rise quickly, but it also made him difficult to work with. His early movies like Splendor in the Grass showed his depth. Behind the scenes, people whispered that the young actor was already becoming too powerful. And then there were the stories about his personal life. Women fell for him easily. He was charming, handsome, confident, and unpredictable. But he was also emotionally complicated. His relationships often burned fast and left both sides hurt. Names like Natalie Wood, Joan Collins, and Leslie Caron filled magazines and gossip columns. Some said he broke hearts without meaning to. Some said he moved on too quickly. Some said he never knew how to stay still for long. Beatty, however, rarely explained himself. He liked mystery. He liked control. And he liked keeping his deeper feelings hidden. Then came his creative breakthrough, Bonnie and Clyde. The studio had no faith in the movie. They thought it would fail, so they gave Beatty an unheard-of deal, 40% of the profits. They assumed that percentage meant nothing because they believed the film would make nothing. Instead, it became one of the most important movies of the decade. It changed Hollywood, changed storytelling, and turned Beatty from a young actor into a major filmmaker. His career became a mix of art and chaos, big ideas, mixed with big emotions. But even while cameras rolled and awards gathered, another story began to form quietly in his life. A story of love, confusion, heartbreak, and regret. A story that would stay with him for decades. A story that would shape his old age more than fame ever could. And that story began in the late 1960s, when he met a woman who would become the greatest love of his life, even though the world did not know it yet. Her name was Julie Christie. Julie Christie was not just beautiful. She was independent, thoughtful, and full of quiet fire. She did not chase fame. Fame chased her. When Warren Beatty met her, he felt something he had not felt before. someone who did not fall into his rhythm, but made him adjust to hers. Their relationship was different from all the others he had known. It was not a simple Hollywood romance. It was powerful, confusing, passionate, and sometimes painful. They worked together on films like McCabe and Mrs. Miller, where their real emotions added something raw and honest to the characters they played. Sometimes they were together, sometimes apart. They broke up, made up, argued, forgave each other, and then repeated the cycle. Julie was strong in her own way. She refused to be shaped by anyone, including Warren. He proposed more than once. She said no every time, not because she did not love him, but because she feared losing herself. She once told a friend that Warren loved deeply, but his life was too loud, too fast, too full of demands. She felt she might disappear in the noise. Their breakup in 1974 was not dramatic. It happened over the phone. But quietly, it crushed Beatty. Friends said he hid it, but they could see he was different afterward. He buried himself in work. He tried to date again. He tried to move forward, but he never fully did. Even when they worked again in 1978 on Heaven Can Wait, people on set felt the tension. The feelings between them were still alive, but tangled and difficult. After that film, they did not work together again. Yet she stayed with him in his thoughts. Years passed, but he kept a connection with her. When he created his huge and demanding film Reds, he dedicated it to Julie Christie. People assumed it was a friendly gesture, but privately, it meant much more. It was a love letter he could not say out loud. It was a sign of the hurt he still carried. The dedication was his attempt to honor her, even though they were no longer together. As the decades rolled on, Warren Beatty went through many life changes. He met Annette Bening, fell in love again, married her, and had children. He found stability, something he never had before. Many people thought he finally settled his wild spirit, but in truth, a quiet part of him continued to carry old memories, old choices, and old regrets. In interviews, he never spoke much about Julie, but friends said her name came up in private moments. Not always directly. Sometimes in hints. Sometimes in stories that ended with silence. And then came the surprising detail revealed in 2020. Julie and her husband stayed at Warren Beatty's guest house when visiting Los Angeles. This showed something rare after so many years. They still had a bond built on respect, history, and something deeper that words could not fully explain. Beatty once said to a close friend that Julie was the defining mirror of his life. She was the person who made him see the best in himself, and also the mistakes he made. This quiet confession revealed the emotional truth he never said in public. That she was the woman he believed he should have married. The woman who slipped away because he was not ready to love in the way she needed. And as the years passed, this feeling grew inside him. Meanwhile, time was changing him. His life slowed down. His energy faded. His memory sometimes wandered. He became more private than ever. He rarely left his home. He missed major events like his daughter Ella's Broadway debut. Something people found surprising because he was once involved in everything his family did. Some people close to him said he seemed tired. Others worried about his health. And when he refused to finish the release process for his new film, The Women of the Castle, people realized something deeper was happening. Beatty, once so powerful and demanding, now seemed afraid of being seen as old, weak, or past his prime. This was a hard truth for a man whose identity was built on control. And when he finally opened up in 2025, he shared the one regret that stayed with him longer than any film, any mistake, any controversy, or any lost award: losing Julie Christie. In 2025, Warren Beatty sat down with a journalist for a quiet, private conversation. The world did not expect much from it. Beatty had been silent for years, rarely appearing in public, rarely giving interviews. But during this conversation, something changed. Age has a way of softening defenses, of bringing old memories to the surface, of making a lifetime of decisions feel heavier or clearer. For Warren Beatty, age brought reflection. And in that reflection, one name kept rising: Julie. The journalist did not ask directly about her. The topic came up naturally as they discussed the past. Beatty paused for a long moment, his voice softer than before, spoke about success, fame, mistakes, and lessons. Then he said something simple. "She's the one I got wrong." He did not mean that she was a mistake. He meant that he did not love her the way she needed at the time, and he knew it too late. He said that she was the ghost in his life, not in a scary way, but as a presence that stayed with him in quiet moments. He explained how she made him feel balanced, challenged, and understood in a way few people ever had. He talked about how losing her hurt him more deeply than he admitted, even to himself. He spoke about their last film together, and how the tension between them was a sign of unspoken feelings, unfinished chapters, and the heavy truth that they still cared for each other, but could not make the relationship work. The journalist later described his voice as filled with both love and sadness, the kind of emotion that can only come from years of thinking about what if. He also admitted that dedicating Reds to her was not a small gesture, but a deeply personal one. It was his way of saying thank you, sorry, and goodbye all at once. As he sat in his aging years, separated from the noise of Hollywood, Beatty finally expressed what he held inside for half a century, that Julie Christie was the one love he could never replace, the one he carried in silence, the one he wished he had treated differently, the one who taught him about love more by leaving than by staying. He also said something surprising, that Julie taught him how to love Annette Bening better. He said, he learned from his past mistakes, learned how to slow down, how to listen, how to share, and how to put family first. But even with a stable marriage and a loving home, the memory of Julie remained part of him. It's not in a way that dismissed his wife, but in a way that showed how deeply the human heart can hold multiple truths that you can love someone fully in. The present, while still feeling the echo of a past love that shaped you. As time went on, friends noticed that Beatty spoke about Julie more openly, not romantically, but reflectively. He said she helped him understand himself, helped him grow, helped him see who he really was. And in his final years, he finally accepted something he resisted for most of his life, that regret is not weakness. Regret means we cared. Regret means something mattered. Regret means we are human. His admission in 2025 became the closest he ever came to saying I loved her and I lost her. It was not dramatic. It was quiet. It was honest. It was the truth he held for decades. And it was the truth that brought him peace. In the end, Warren Beatty became more than the headlines about a man who dated thousands of women, more than a difficult actor, more than a demanding director, more than a Hollywood legend. He became a reminder that even the most powerful people feel deep emotions, deep regrets, and deep love. His story with Julie Christie remains one of Hollywood's most private love stories, full of passion, stakes, distance, and unspoken devotion. It reminds us that life can be long, but love can be longer. It reminds us that success cannot protect us from heartbreak. It reminds us that even legends carry quiet ghosts. And for Warren Beatty, that ghost had a name. Julie Christie. The woman he lost. The woman he learned from. The woman he finally admitted he never truly got over. Fame is loud. Fame is bright. Fame is restless. But behind every famous life, there is a quiet truth that lives in the shadows. A truth that does not walk red carpets. A truth that does not appear in interviews. A truth that no headline has ever fully captured. This story begins in those shadows. It begins with a man whose name has filled theaters for more than half a century. A man who shaped Hollywood in ways many people do not even realize. A man who became a symbol of charm, success, and mystery. His talent made him powerful. His looks made him unforgettable. His choices made him controversial. And his silence made him even more interesting. The world knows him as Warren Beatty. People often think they understand powerful men. They see the confidence, the attention, the spotlight, and the long list of romances. They assume such men never feel uncertain, never feel regret, never look back. But that idea is wrong. Behind every legend, behind every magazine cover, in every award speech, there is a real person with fears, insecurities, hopes, and wounds. And in the case of Warren Beatty, there is also one love that stayed with him long after it was gone. Before we reach that chapter, before we talk about the heartbreak he carried for decades, we must understand the world he built for himself. Hollywood in the 1960s, 1970s, and 1980s was not the Hollywood we know today. It was wild, risky, unpredictable, and often cruel. Success could lift a person to the highest place, but failure could crush them just as quickly. And in that intense world, Warren Beatty became a master of survival. He worked harder than most people knew. He fought for creative control long before actors understood they could ask for it. He studied scripts for months, pushing every detail until it felt right. He argued with producers, debated with directors, and reshaped movies from the inside out. People who worked with him said he could be both inspiring and exhausting at the same time. But they also said he'd never asked for more from others than he demanded from himself. Yet with all his talent, he was never fully understood. Some people loved him. Some people feared him. Some people misunderstood him completely. But almost everyone agreed on one thing: he was complicated. At the same time, the public viewed him through a very simple lens: the charming man who dated nearly every famous woman in Hollywood. That image followed him everywhere. Some stories were true, some were exaggerated, and some were just gossip. But behind those stories was a deeper truth. Beatty struggled with emotional closeness. He could fall in love fast, but staying in love was harder. He fought with fear, with doubt, with the pressure of fame. But something changed the moment he met one specific woman. She was not impressed by fame. She was not blinded by his charm. She was real, grounded, and independent. And for the first time, Warren Beatty found someone who did not just match his energy. She challenged it. Her name was Julie Christie. To understand their connection, you must imagine what Hollywood was like at that time. Every studio was searching for the next big face, the next big voice, the next breakout star. And when Julie Christie arrived, the industry felt her presence instantly. She was different from other actresses of her era. She did not chase attention. She did not care about fashion or parties. She was thoughtful, almost shy at times, yet strong inside. Her talent was effortless. Her beauty was natural. Her spirit was free. Beatty was used to being the center of attention, but when Julie entered a room, everything shifted. Her quiet confidence filled the space. She did not try to impress him, and that is exactly what impressed him the most. Their connection was not loud. It did not explode like fireworks. Instead, it grew slowly, like a deep-rooted flame that refused to go out. They laughed together. They argued. They studied scripts late into the night. They talked about life, art, politics, and the weight of fame. They understood each other in ways that confused even their closest friends. But love between two strong souls is never easy. Their relationship became a storm, beautiful and painful, inspiring and difficult. Betty, who once moved from romance to romance without hesitation, suddenly found himself stuck in emotional quicksand. Julie was the first woman who made him look at himself honestly. She made him want to be better, but she also made him face truths he normally avoided. She would not let him control her. She would not let him define her. She refused to be just another chapter in his story. She wanted love, but she wanted freedom to be. Beatty wanted love, but he wanted control too. This difference slowly pulled them apart. Still, the connection between them was so intense that even when they were no longer together, their energy remained. They continued to influence each other's lives. Their careers crossed again. Old feelings resurfaced. New wounds reopened. And even when time passed and Beatty moved into different relationships, something inside him remained tied to Julie Christie. Some call it soulful connection. Some call it unresolved love. Some call it the one that got away. But whatever name we give it, the truth is clear. Julie Christie left a mark on Warren Beatty that time could not erase. And as Beatty grew older, the noise of fame faded. As his world grew quieter, her name stayed with him. It stayed in his memory, in his regrets, and in the lessons he learned too late. This story is not just about Hollywood. It is not just about fame. It is not just about romance. It is about how even the strongest, most successful people can carry private heartbreak. It is about the one love that changes everything. And it is about how a simple truth, hidden for 50 years, finally came to the surface as Warren Beatty reached the final chapters of his life. Now, we step into that story, the real story, the quiet story, the human story, the story of Warren Beatty, and the woman he never got over. As we move closer to his story, it becomes clear that Warren Beatty's life cannot be understood through headlines alone. Headlines show moments, but they rarely show the person behind them. For someone like Beatty, whose career stretched across decades of dramatic change in Hollywood, the headlines told only the surface layer. They captured the charm, the romance, the awards, the controversies, the rumors, but they did not show the small moments that shaped him. They did not show the private choices, the long nights of thinking, the personal doubts, or the hidden regrets that followed him quietly. Year after year, it is easy to forget that people who seem larger than life still carry the same emotions the rest of us do. They feel love just as deeply. They feel heartbreak just as painfully. They question themselves just as often. They remember moments from long ago that still touch them in ways they cannot fully explain. And this becomes especially true when someone reaches old age. The noise of life becomes softer. The past becomes louder. Old memories come back, not just as stories, but as lessons. For Warren Beatty, these memories were not just about career choices or mistakes on movie sets. They were about people who shaped him, challenged him, supported him, hurt him, or walked away from him. And above all, one person stood out the most. Not because she was the most famous, not because their relationship was the longest, but because she reached a part of him that no one else ever did. Julie Christie entered his life like a gentle wave, and she remained in his memory like a quiet echo. She did not try to change him, but she made him realize that he needed to change. She did not demand his attention, but she held it without even trying. And she did not stay with him forever, but she stayed inside him forever. Sometimes love works that way. It is not about how long two people stay together. It is about the impact they leave on each other's hearts. Beatty once lived life as if time was something he could always outrun. But time eventually catches everyone. When it did for him, he began to look back more honestly. He began to understand the difference between wanting someone and being ready for them. He began to see how fear had shaped his choices, even when he thought he was simply following passion. He began to see that Julie was not just another chapter, but a turning point. This extra layer, this emotional reflection, is what gives his story real depth. It turns his life into more than a timeline of films and fame. It turns it into a human story. A story about the one love that stays with you long after everything else fades. A story about learning too late. A story about accepting what cannot be changed, and now, with all the noise stripped away, we finally see the man behind the legend. We see Warren Beatty not as Hollywood saw him, but as life shaped him. And it is through this understanding that the true story begins.